We are fighting the power on this week's episode of Implicit Bias. I'm your host, Kavan Bordelon. And yeah, we're just the little guy fighting against the man, and we're doing it from the TSPL. Another episode of Implicit Bias is on the air right now. Now, we often get questions to the crew, questions into the show on occasion. What's Caleb or Renee or Grant or any of us, what are you guys like when you're not doing the show? Well, it's actually a really easy question to answer. What's the answer? Well, it's this. What you see, it's what you get. The crew is as real as we can be. We're just like almost all of our listeners or viewers if you're following us on our socials. We're real. We don't change. We're just everyday average Joes without someone who thinks he's a pirate. In other words, we're just like you. We often hope, as we try to keep it Catholic and Christian on this show, that we follow the biblical philosophy captured in the words, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." These words, spoken by Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount, have echoed through centuries, offering hope to regular people while challenging the powerful manipulators of the world. But then that begs the question, what do those words truly mean in the context of our modern world? An era marked by the growing influences of banks, of corporations, of governments. And how, amidst unprecedented prosperity, does the proverbial little guy continue to be marginalized and exploited? Well, let's begin by understanding what it means to be meek in the biblical sense. Meekness is not weakness. It's not passivity, nor is it the absence of ambition or voice. Rather, meekness is humility paired with strength. It's the quiet resolve to do what's right, to act justly, to walk humbly, even in the face of adversity or injustice. The meek are those who refuse to wield power for its own sake or to use force to bend others to our will. Instead, we hold a steadfast commitment to integrity, compassion, while maintaining the dignity of every human being alive. Yet history has shown us that the meek are often not the ones who inherit the earth, unfortunately, at least not in the ways that the world measures: wealth, status, power. Far too frequently, it's those with the loudest voices and the deepest pockets who shape the destinies of nations. The little guy, the everyday worker, the small farmer, the struggling entrepreneur, usually the voiceless and unseen, repeatedly finds themselves on the receiving end of decisions made in distant boardrooms or government halls. Consider the role of banks and financial institutions. These were created to serve communities, to enable dreams, to invest in people's futures. But all too often, we've witnessed their transformation into colossal entities detached from the lives of those they once claimed to serve. Mortgages become traps rather than pathways to home ownership. Loans morph into shackles of debt. When economic crisis hits, it's the small savers, the modest wage earners who bear the brunt, while the largest corporations and banks get bailed out. And the architects of the disaster, they walk away unscathed. Corporations, too, in their relentless pursuit of growth, have sometimes forgotten the human faces behind their profits. Workers get reduced to numbers on a spreadsheet, communities to just markets, and the environment to a resource to be extracted. The stories of the little guy are drowned out by the machinery, the time studies, and the cacophony of quarterly earnings reports. The social construct, that unwritten promise to treat each other with fairness and respect, it's frayed at the edges, stretched way too thin by the demands of shareholders and the lure of unchecked profit. Governments, the very institutions meant to protect the vulnerable, have not always lived up to their sacred trust. Policies are shaped by lobbyists and special interest. The marginalized, the meek, find their way somehow to the periphery. Their voices get lost in the din of political maneuvering. The promise that every citizen matters equally is too often betrayed by systems that prioritize privilege over people. Yet, despite these realities, the biblical promise persists. The meek shall inherit the earth. It's not just a statement about the future. It's actually a radical call to action. It challenges us to remain and reimagine what it means to succeed, to lead, to build community. It calls us to stand alongside the little guy, to amplify the voices of the unheard, to champion justice, to render each his due over convenience and compassion over profit. It calls us to win their game by not playing it. We should serve rather than exploit. We should hold leaders accountable. And remember that the true measure of greatness is not in what we possess, but in how we serve each other. May we strive for a world where the meek do inherit the earth? Absolutely. Not through conquest, but through dignity, justice, and hope. And we will recognize them. We'll do that by sipping on a few weekly whiskeys, maybe a whole bunch of weekly whiskeys. We'll have some special whiskeys this week. We'll try to use those libations to assist us in solving the problems of the world, discussing everything we're not supposed to talk about in polite conversation, religion, politics, victories, and humiliations. After all, it's our Implicit Bias Radio. 4 bottles of whiskey. We'll explain that in a minute. 3 people sitting at the bar. We'll explain that in a minute too. Implicit Bias Radio is rolling this week. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. We have an absolutely packed to the gills Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast lair this week. And of course, we also have Walker sitting in the corner, who of course wore those shorts again. And thank goodness that I don't have to look that direction because anyway, let me introduce you to the crew that we've got here with us this week. Nose humping his glass in his chair is the rustic renegade as he tries to get a nose on the whiskey that he's got because hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge from a Monty Python fans out there. He doesn't know what's in his glass. Let me introduce you to the crew at the bar. We're going to go left to right on your viewing screen. If you are watching on any of our socials, whether that's Instagram, YouTube, X, Facebook, we've got some stuff on TikTok now, on Truth Social, on Rumble, you name it, we're trying to get everywhere. Let's start with Grant Galatas of William S. Nacol Jewelers. Grant, how are you this afternoon?
Pretty good. It must be happy hour. The bar's a little crowded.
Yeah, love when this bar is crowded. One of the people who's making it crowded is a return to the show. He is the Lord of Liquor, and we have him on for a very special reason because we are going to taste blindly 2 whiskeys that he was directly involved in. Jason Broussard, glad to have you back from Uncorked Distributors.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's been too long for sure, and I hope to be back more often than not. Since
that's just because we serve whiskey.
Well, for sure. But you also, a lot of my whiskeys, a lot of my store picks end up on the show.
Yeah,
and going forward, I want to be part of it. So.
Hey, we love having you here and we love having these picks because this is going to be particularly fun. Not a lot of people probably have the opportunity what we're going to do on this show, but it's going to tell you where some of these whiskeys fall. To Jason's left, your right, if you are looking at the screen, that is Renee Girard of Piper's Haven, one of only 16 master tobacconists on the planet.
Are you identifying again?
I do. I identify as a certified wizard of tobacco.
Wait. I thought Trump in that he signed an executive order that you can't identify or something like that.
Well, maybe I can't. You know what? In my own head, I can be. In my own head, Renee, you are not going to cure my mental illness. So I'm going to identify as a certified master tobacconist if I want to.
I'll agree with that one.
Okay, there we go. Walker's in the corner. Walker, I'm going to let you just go ahead and start us off. You have a glass of whiskey. I'm going to explain what's happening here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL in just a minute. How do you like the glass that's in front of you, though? Have you tasted it?
Yes, I have tasted it, and I really, really do enjoy it.
You really, really do enjoy it as opposed to really, really, really do enjoy it, or as opposed to really enjoy it?
That's a great question. But I really, really, really enjoy it.
Okay, I like hearing that. So let me explain what we're doing. So if you can see here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL, we have 4 bottles of whiskey on the table between myself and Caleb, which is a miracle in and of itself that Caleb is not trying to claw his way to each bottle.
Staring at them hungrily.
And here's what we have. These 4 bottles represent the same 2 whiskeys. What we have is a pick of the Senator Rye. The first one, Jason, do you remember what year you picked this? It might even be on here. Oh, it is. Oh my goodness.
I feel like it's been a minute, maybe like 5 years ago.
So this was bottled in 21. This was distilled in 14. So it was a 6-year rye that you picked at Nunu's. This bottle of the Senator was the first Proof and Wood pick, I think, to make its way.
My name is on it.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'm happy you recognize that.
So wait, you learned to read since the last time you were on the show?
I don't even have my glasses on, and I can see that.
That's impressive. That's really good.
Okay.
Really.
So
Whiskey helps vision.
that is one of the whiskeys we are tasting. The other whiskey that we will taste is a rehash from something we tasted, just a week or so ago, which is the most recent pick of the Senator 6-year rye from Nunu's. Jason was part of that development, but ultimately it's a Nunu's pick, so they picked it. But you were part of it, I'm aware. But this is the one with your name on it. That one is not. So what I did was I split up the bottles. I put them into 2 generic bottles. I know which is in which. But we're going to blind taste test these against each other. So we're going to review this one. Then we're going to re-pour, and we are going to review the other bottle, not knowing which is which in our review. And then I will reveal for the What Would You Pay Championship Belt chain who picked it right and who I deem gets to wear the chain for the rest of the show.
Okay.
So let's start at the bar. Let's start with whoever wants to go first. And
Give it to the professional.
okay, so we're going to start with Jason. So Jason, the whiskey that you are tasting now that's in your glass, what do you think of this? What do you get off of this? What notes do you get?
Without even tasting the other one, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to because we're on the radio.
Yeah.
Might as well roll the dice. I kind of feel like this is the one that I picked years ago.
Okay,
And there's
you
a
can say
reason
that.
because this is single barrel, 6-year, high proof, but it has a softness to it, right? It's got a smoothness that defies its high proof in the mid 120s, if I remember correctly, what that bottle says.
116.24.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
Heard that,
116.2.
So I really feel I am absolutely loving this.
So tell me what notes you get off of it. What makes this so drinkable for you?
This is spicy caramel and toffee, and it has a softness on the mid palate. It rolls around your tongue, and when you swallow it, it doesn't burn you going down. It just warms your soul.
So I do agree with you that this warms your soul. This starts to warm the cold black heart that lives within me, right? It does. But I'm going to tell you, the true test of that is the person right to your left, to the right on the television screen, which is Renee. Because Renee, if it's over 25 proof, it's too hot. We hear that from him all the time.
No, it's got to go a little bit more than 25, maybe like 30. No, this one initially it hit me as being a little hot, but it's very, very good whiskey. That first sip I had, I guess it kind of singed my taste buds, so now they don't feel all that heat. But the flavors are just coming out. The smells that I was nose humping my glass a lot when we first started, before I even took the first sip, getting a lot of aroma out of it. This is definitely something I could drink. Now, whether it's Jason's bottle or not, I don't know.
Well, we're going to
But-
talk about that. I'm going to let everybody taste each before we come back to
because I
that,
don't.
right?
I know I was there for the original one when we did it, but
You were.
that was so many years ago. I don't remember it, and I wasn't there for the second one because that was a couple of weeks ago.
Correct.
And I wasn't here for that.
Correct. So now you're going to get to taste
Yep.
both of them.
and then I'll make my
right?
determination.
Then you can make your determination. Grant, what are you thinking about the whiskey that you've got in your glass? And you're an interesting dynamic with regards to bourbon and whiskey drinkers out there, because you have, I don't want to say just graduated to the high proof, but you've really in the last, 6 months, year and a half, started to move on the paradigm of, I like things at 90, 95, 100. And now you're like, yeah, if it's not 116, it's just not there.
Right.
So I'm curious as to what you think of this.
When I raised it to my nose, Jason hit it perfectly. It's got that really smooth, sweet caramelly with a little bit of a pepper bite. That's why I was wondering, are they both rye?
They are both rye.
Okay, so they're both rye, but again, Jason said it perfectly. If you can take 116 proof and round it out with a smooth, deep caramelly, just something to kind of to put a blanket over the bite a little bit. Yeah, this is really good. This is right in my wheelhouse now.
I'm going to say this. The finish on this is so long and beautiful, right? It's got legs. It's a little oily. that it sits on the palate. It not just sits on the palate, it coats the cheeks and the gums as it goes down. I mean, it's just one of those that you really, really like. Now, the fun part is both of these whiskeys rated as blues the first time they were on the show. So we know that both of them are going to be really high end. Caleb, I'm curious as to, now that you've tasted this, what are you thinking?
What's the proof on this one?
116 would be the proof on this one if this is it. And then if it's not, 124 is the other one.
Walker got what I was doing
It's
right
either
there.
116. You think I didn't pick up what you were putting down? Dear Lord, I was born at night, not last night.
This is delicious. I get hints of nutmeg. I get vanilla wafers with a little bit of cinnamon on top.
So that might be when Jason said that this has it's almost like a plush finish to it. It's velvety.
Yeah, it's crisp. It's clean. It's got hints of caramel without being overly caramel. It goes down so well. I find that the legs of it, the length of it lasts for probably about 3.5-4 seconds after the taste is done. I can tell you I've had it before because I've had both of them before.
You're a Wile E. Coyote, super genius.
Batting 100. I think I have this on my shelf. I think I want to. Again. I want to taste the other one while I'm drinking it because I'm 90% sure that I agree with Jason. This is the original with his name on it.
We're going to find out, and here's how we're going to do this. Normally, we do one weekly whiskey segment. In order for us to finish up our tastings of this and pour the second tasting, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We'll do 2 whiskey segments, essentially in hour 1. We will then come back. We'll taste the other one. I'll reveal what's what, and we will go from there as we continue down fighting for you, the little guy, because somebody's got to taste this for you so you know what to go get. Might as well be us fighting for you on Implicit Bias Radio. The weekly whiskey tasting continues. We move on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio as we continue our blind tastings of the Senator, picked by New News Markets in Youngsville, Scott, Milton, Maurice. So in the first weekly whiskey segment, which we normally do here on the show, we basically had a bottle of the Senator. Might have been the new one, might have been the old one, picked by the Lord of Liquor who's at the bar. Nobody here knows except for me. You're going to get to hear what they think about which bottle is which. The one from segment 1, is that the old Senator or is it the new Senator? The one from segment 2, which is this one, the new or the old. So let's start with Walker. Walker, tell me what you think about your second pour here in the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast lair.
This one I don't get as much pepper on as the last one. I don't know.
Okay.
What is it? Or I do get the caramel, same thing.
It's either 116 or 124 proof.
Yeah. But definitely not as much pepper on this one.
Okay. So a little more smooth for you?
I would say so. But if I remember correctly, when we had this one was when we had the newer Senator, the higher proof, it was more smooth.
You weren't here for the first one because it was years ago.
Yeah, I know. That's
so
what I'm
you
saying.
would
But
have
I remember
no
this
idea.
one. No, I don't, but I kind of
Okay.
have a feeling.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the bar. Jason, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this second pour of the Senator? Is this the 2021 bottling or is this the 2025 bottling?
This feels like the 2025 to me. I feel
Okay.
like it's a lot livelier on my tongue.
Okay.
So it doesn't wrap around with softness. It actually lights up the top of my tongue. I'm getting the spicy in the front end and the mid palate. And to be a Ron Burgundy, it stings the nostrils a little bit.
Yeah, I
feels
like it.
On the nose, a little hotter, not in a bad way, in a great way for all you proof whores out there.
Hey, 60% of the time, it works 100% of the time.
Well said, sir. So this to me is definitely the 2024, and I'm curious to see if I'm right. I absolutely love this. This is the type of style of rye whiskey that I would pick for myself. But remember, you're picking from a group of samples, so you're taking the best of 3
Yeah.
or the best of 5.
Yep.
And not always, but a lot of times I will, ahead of the tasting with the client, I'll just take a nip out of each of the samples and I'll think about the client that I'm tasting on these and I know what they like, right? Because we all kind of like a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
I know what they pick, especially Nunus, because I was worked there for 7 years. I worked with all those guys. We picked a lot together. I picked a lot by myself. The one that says Jason, if I'm not mistaken, there was nobody else there. The general manager, the owner, the other. If I remember correctly, I picked that by myself, and that's why I chose. That's one of the only barrel picks that I put my name on.
Okay.
So I think this is the 2024.
Okay, so you think that, well, yeah, it might have been 24 when it actually was bottled by the time it got here.
Right,
It's
right.
available in 2025, to
Right,
your point.
right.
Yeah, okay. So let's go to the rest of the bar. Let's see what maybe, Grant, what do you think about this second tasting compared to the first?
I don't know if it's uncommon for the same name brand to be similar profile like that, but it seems very similar. Jason said a little livelier, which hits it right on the nose. Similar sweet profile. I'm confused at which one is number one and number two so far the higher proof. This one seems like a little lesser proof.
Well, you'll find out when we reveal at the end of this segment.
That's usually how I go. Which one hits you a little bit harder, but similar profile. A little bit livelier, not as much legs as the first one, but
And you said you feel like this one has the lower proof than the other one?
it just seems a little lighter.
Okay, a little lighter.
So I usually equate that with a little bit
Okay.
easier proof.
Yeah,
So,
no worries. And I agree with you. I think Jason absolutely did hit it on the nose. There's more pop to this. Like when it hits your palate, when it hits your mouth, you know. It is a little more, as we like to say on the show, it's a little more aggressive than the first tasting. Renee?
I'm thinking the first one was stronger, which I liked better than this one.
Okay.
There's something about this one. I'm not getting as much flavor off of this one. The first one I got a lot of flavor of. I think it's a higher proof, but I think this is the whichever one is the lesser proof. This is it.
Okay, so you think that this
Yeah.
is the lower of the two, that this
Right.
is the 116, not the 124, which would make this Jason's pick from 2021.
So
as opposed to
116 is Jason's pick.
116 was
Okay.
Jason's pick.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm thinking this is a lower proof.
Okay. Caleb.
So I can't go off the scent because I had residue left over my glass, right? So we mixed a little bit on the smell. On the flavor, I get flat cola, cracked black pepper, and then CAO cherry bomb pipe tobacco. So this is the one we just had not too long ago. The first one was the Jason pick. This is the 124 and some change.
If you're correct,
Yep,
it would be.
yep, yeah, because I'm correct. That's what this one is. But it's still delicious, and I love the fact that I get to have it again.
And I absolutely hate to admit this. Caleb and Jason, you guys are both spot on. The first one was the Jason pick at 116 proof. The second one is the currently available 124 proof that is at New News right now. Guys, are we still all blues on these?
Oh, yes.
100.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Renee, are
Yeah.
you even? Yeah. Yeah. And Renee, you had them backwards. You thought that this one was the lower proof.
Yeah, I just got a lot more pepper off of the first one. I got a lot more, to me, I guess flavor. I got a lot more flavor off the first one. This one seems a little muted to me, which is why I thought it was a lower proof on this one.
Nope.
Because it
this
was
is,
muted.
Yeah, this is the higher proof. This is the one that, as I said, just a little more aggressive, right? And you get that pop on the palate, almost, but not quite the cotton candy effect where it just hits the tongue and just completely evaporates. Really close. But this one, yeah, absolutely. The second one, the one that we are tasting now, is the current Senator pick at New News, a blue, absolutely. As well as, and we're fortunate enough to have this bottle here, or at least I am, because I took it out of my private collection, for us to have this bottle of the Senator. It was Jason's pick years ago. Jason?
Oh, thanks for that. And look, this is a tale of two ryes.
It is.
Both of these are why I love rye. The first one being, that caramelly, toffee, spicy, but coats the tongue all the way around, lingers forever. The first one is the whiskey when people would come and say, I don't really like rye. I'm like, here, try this bourbon. And I would secretly pour them that. And they're like, wow, this is delicious. And I'm like, guess what? You now like rye, sir.
That is a fantastic point, because so many people I talk to give me the, I don't like rye, I only drink bourbon, I don't like that. And I'm like, look, don't go by what you think. Go by what you taste. And a lot of times, you'll line up a rye right next to a bourbon, and they will pick the rye more often than the bourbon, just because rye to me seems to almost mature faster in the barrel. A 4-year rye is going to taste more like a 6 to 8 year bourbon. A 6-year rye is going to taste more like a 10 to 12 year bourbon to me.
And as rye ages, it kind of softens up a little bit. You lose some of those, herbaceous, minty aspects. And once those drop off, and again, you get that, the toffee, the caramel, the spice, and other elements. And it's the same as a high rye bourbon.
It is.
With being younger and sometimes
Less expensive. Yeah.
So you're getting, a 6-year rye could be just, that's what these guys are.
Yeah, 6-year rye.
That's the pocket.
Agreed.
That's the pocket for me.
I agree with you 100%. That sweet spot for ryes is that 6-year spot. Grant?
Once you mentioned the cotton candy effect, it kind of made sense. Once it that higher proof, but it seemed a little bit lighter, but there was a little bit of an evaporation to it.
Yep.
Once it hit your palate, so you got a tremendous amount of spices, and then all of a sudden, it just kind of disappears on you with a little higher proof. So yeah, I think what it proves is Renee and I, taste buds over 50 years old.
Hey,
A little confused.
Hey, I resemble that
The
remark.
taste buds.
I resemble that remark, but no, here's what I can
55.
say. Here's what I can say. We are lucky to have these whiskeys here in the TSPL. We are lucky to be able to taste these, to savor these, because the reality is a lot of people will go out and they go after a lot of labels. We're still seeing bottles that should be 60, 65, 70 bucks that are trying to be sold at 120, 125. And it's like, look, I tell you what, I'll stick to the $72, $74 range on a 6-year rye, something like this that's special.
Well, that's what I love about these, is because I don't know why they don't have the following that some of the bigger or other names do. You can find this deliciousness on the shelves just about anywhere. And when I see a bottle, when I see a senator, representative, something like that, I want it. I've got people out looking for a governor, an ambassador, and things like that.
Cabinet, justice.
Yeah.
Good
I've had
luck.
a cabinet. I've had a
Good
presidential
luck.
grant. The justice and all are hard to find because I know what's in these bottles. So if I can get one of the others, I'm excited about the potential of what that might taste like.
What I'm really excited about is, for those who are listening, there's still a little bit of time. Not a ton. If you're catching us on podcast, you've got 24 hours, because Proof and Wood, the company that puts these out,
Shout out to Dave Schmier,
yes,
the owner.
Yes. They are going to be at Implicit Birthday. The Lord of Liquor will be there. He will be sampling the current senator, the current representative,
The current tumbling dice,
Yep.
and maybe the presidential dram.
which is absolutely special as well. Go to www.implicitbiasradio. The link is there. You can buy your tickets, show up at the door. We'll have your name at the door. We'll get you taken care of. Tickets will remain, but it's got to be done before you show up, because probably by the time that this is done airing at noon on Saturday, ticket sales will be shut down and you're not going to be able to buy tickets at the door. So grab your tickets. We hope to see you at Implicit Birthday. Cheers to the Lord of Liquor for making it back here with us. We really appreciate you coming back by, Jason, for this very special event, because this is the first blind tasting we've ever done.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
love that we did it. Love the way that it worked out, and love that it was with some whiskeys that you brought to this show, and part of what you did to help this show kind of get where we are, because the partnership that we had with you a few years ago really kind of made a lot of this special. So cheers. Thank you.
Cheers to you.
Absolutely.
Y'all come out to the Implicit Bias birthday. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be so many amazing whiskeys, food. I think you should maybe talk about the little auction, perhaps.
Well, so do I have time, Walker? Okay, so we've got a little bit of time. That's a good one, because for charity, for St. Michael's Homeless Shelter, Acadiana Veteran Alliance, and Catholic Charities of Acadiana, you could have an opportunity to sit in on a pick from Pinhook Distillery, where Nunu's is going to buy the barrel. You get to sit in and give your input as to which pick they choose to bring in.
Taste, not just watch,
Oh,
not
correct.
hear, not look.
Well,
you're part of it.
That is-
Participate.
Yeah, that is part of the way that it's picked, right? You've got to taste it. You've got to understand what's out there. And what I will say is, the one they did last year showed up here on the show as a pick at Nunu's that we reviewed. It was a unanimous blue on the show. Another fantastic pick. So we're expecting another really special whiskey when you show up, and donate your charitable funds to Acadiana Veteran Alliance, Catholic Charities of Acadiana, which will benefit St. Michael's Homeless Shelter for Veterans. All part of Implicit Birthday. Cheers. We'll see you on Saturday night. Final segment, hour one of this week's episode of Implicit Bias, and we are having some fun on this episode. Hour 2 should be a hoot. We did 2 weekly whiskey segments. If you missed one of them, go back and find us wherever you can get your podcasts. Go back and find us on any of our socials. YouTube's a great place where you can catch all of our episodes. Trust me, you don't want to miss our blind tasting of the Senator picks from New News. One picked in 2021, one picked in 2024, now available in 2025. And let me tell you, they both lived up to the billing. Another game. Yeah, so here's the deal. Because he got it right, and he's here for the rest of the show. Caleb
That's why
Morris,
I got the free zones just
That's
now?
why you got the free zones. Caleb Morris gets to wear the What Would You Pay championship belt chain. He was able to blindly pick which was which on the show, which means he wears the What Would You Pay championship belt chain presented by Box Drop of Lafayette. Okay.
When you're good, you're good.
Yeah, the game. Are you the game? No, you can't be Triple H because we've already got a Triple H on the show. Yeah, can't do that. All right. But
Maybe Big Papa Pump. Maybe that one.
dear Lord. But the game, you Scott Steiner. Okay. Good that I could like pull that out
Yeah,
of
that was
memory.
dope. Nice,
Yeah, it
yeah.
proves that maybe my brain isn't deteriorating as I thought it was. All right. Having fun with the GME on this one. And I mean the game. But when I say GME, what am I talking about, Caleb? Because you're picking up what I'm putting down.
GameStop.
Yes, GME is the stock ticker symbol for GameStop, which the day that we recorded this episode saw a little bit of what some people would call a candle. It looked like the short squeeze was about to happen, and then all of a sudden somebody dumped like 1.9 million shares in a heartbeat in order to kill it. It's still finished in the green, but GameStop, we are not financial analysts. But the GameStop short squeeze, our best opinion is that it's still on the table. The big question is why? Well, number one, we know that people have shorted GameStop a whole bunch. But number two, GameStop is cash flush.
Yes, they are.
Do you know how much they're sitting on, Caleb?
Isn't it like almost $2 billion?
No.
No,
No.
much better than that.
Much better than that.
Son of a gun.
Anybody keep track of this? Anybody know at the bar? Nope. Okay. Between $9 to $10 billion in cash they are sitting on.
Well, I'll be.
And they have that in a passbook savings account collecting interest.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in a high yield savings account collecting 0.1% interest every year. No, nope. Nope. They've actually invested in Bitcoin, which the day that we recorded this episode, Bitcoin hit an all-time high. So think about their holdings continuing to pile upon each other, and apparently they are looking to reinvent the GameStop model. I'm of the opinion they are targeting us. I'm of the opinion they are targeting Gen X. Caleb, did you see it and read it? Anybody at the bar see the article and read it?
Yeah, I did.
Push start arcade.
Yeah. Okay, Renee, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I
Because-
mean, I remember back in the day with Aladdin's Castle in the mall, and it was
Yeah.
just crazy. And those places don't exist. But guess what? We have money now, and we would go and put those quarters in there. Of course, it's probably $1 to play it now.
Oh.
But play those games.
Renee, keep going.
It's like
Really?
$5 to play digital mahjong.
Well, here's
Real.
here's
yeah,
the way.
but no, go play Asteroids and Space Invaders. And
Hey,
you know?
I got preparation age for my asteroids.
Yeah.
Not the okay.
No, we got the money, so they'll spend on that.
So, Grant, I'm curious as to your thoughts. If you had the opportunity to go back to not necessarily a classic arcade from when we were kids, but an updated version of an arcade, would you go? Would you take Dylan and go? I'd grab Connor and be like, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Maybe once or twice.
And that's
I
it.
think it's a very bold move to try and bring something back that pretty much died by natural selection.
Well, but look at it this way too.
Quick question: how are they sitting on that much money? There were no negative ramifications for their first round of the controversy that they went through.
Okay, so when they were being short squeezed, first of all, at one point the price of GameStop hit like $463 a share. They then issued new share sales to generate cash. They also then took and bought Bitcoin, which has elevated in price. So I mean, it's just they have compounded cash on top of cash on top of cash, and they've been stockpiling it, which makes me wonder how a company that's sitting on $10 billion in cash only has a $23 per share stock value. Right? It's insane.
Yeah, I can't see the kids, that we consider gamers. Their comfort zone is in mommy and daddy's basement. Not here, of course, but I don't see the concept catching on. If you say it's aimed and targeted towards us, like I'm being honest.
So-
So
Yeah.
say I can see going to see it just for the novelty of it, just for a little nostalgia. But I can't see that being a concept that actually catches on.
So there's one location already actually in Vegas, and what they do is you can go in and trade in your antique games, and
You're old.
get credits.
Ring the bell, because he's old.
You can get credits to play the video games. So they're getting product that they can turn around and sell and get whatever they get out of it to use for us to go play on equipment, games, and all that.
Yeah, but are you talking Atari and in television? Or are you talking
the games,
Mario?
like-
Whatever games you
Yeah,
trade
whatever
in,
games. They-
whether it's
whatever.
Atari
Yeah.
and whatever
Those things are worth a lot of
they
money.
are. So
So
think about this, because you're going to get people trading in games that are worth a lot more than they think they are.
You trade them in, you get credit, you go play games, you build XP, and you have your own character, a GameStop character that's you. And as you get XP, this character can develop and level up, and you can give attributes to use in other games.
I'm going to tell you what I love about this more than anything else. And this is why I think this could catch on. Because it is a novel idea, Grant. To the generation of our kids, to my 19-year-old son, to your 28-year-old son, to Caleb's 15 and 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old son, to Renee's children our age, right? What,
29 and 22.
29 and 22.
Yeah.
That was actually a slip of the tongue. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
It came out right. 29 and 22. But my point is, community gaming in person is a novelty to
Well,
them.
that and-
Actually forming that. I
was
mean,
so
and,
much
and
fun.
my son was a PlayStation kid. He played all the PlayStation games, but he's never played Missile Command and Pong, and it would be novelty to him. Hey, let's go to the arcade and I'll show you what it used to be like.
okay, so there are
know?
a couple people listening / watching who will remember this. Because when I was in late high school, early college, and kind of midway through college, there were a couple of guys that we would end up at the Fun Arcade in Metairie, right next to Dornax. And literally, we would call each other at work and be like, leave them a message, just tell them we be jamming. And they would know that the three of us were going to play NBA Jam, and that we'd sit there for hours. We'd take $10 bills and get $10 rolls of quarters to go play. And it wasn't necessarily about just playing the video game. It was the time that we spent.
it's
It was
hanging
our
out,
version
it's
of
cutting up.
It was our version of our parents playing cards and poker and all this. And this generation is longing for that contact.
Imagine being able to trash talk somebody in Tekken again. Right?
Yeah.
But think about it this way: are they going to stand in line while the machine is occupied? They're going to stand 10 people deep to
Yep.
wait to put their quarters in.
That's it's up to us to
they're
talk
not-
trash at
And
that
you-
point.
and
in
you
time,
know why?
right?
Instant
And to make them
gratification.
go home and
No,
cry to
no,
No,
mommy
this
and daddy. or
generation
play.
is about instant gratification.
But
If
you know
you're gonna
why they'll
stand there
do
with
it?
your pocket full of quarters and wait 10 people to put yours in.
They will do it for the exact same reason that we did it when NBA Jam was there, because there was a cheat code, and my buddies are going to know. It's Big Whiskey, it's Christian Boss. We would go and we had a code for certain players, and I had played with Super Chris Webber for like 37 straight games. I was 37-0. And some little douchebag watched me put in the code, played with my player, and lost. And I caught him one day at the arcade. And it was me and Big Whiskey who got him. And we pulled up, and I had found a different cheat code, played with a different player. That game, if you remember, it was 2-minute quarters. So it was a total of 8 minutes of basketball time. My player that game, because Kenny Michael was that gracious, he was that good of a roommate, he would give up baskets and just look at the dude and talk crap. He'd look at him and be like, bruh, he just dropped 100 on you. I mean, and I literally scored over 100 points in 8 minutes of video game basketball. That's why they'll wait, because there is nothing quite, and I hate to say this being Catholic, because we're trying to be Catholic, we're trying to be Christian. There is nothing quite as good as rubbing your opponent's nose in it face to face over something stupid like a game.
Yeah, but-
and then looking at him and being like, yeah, bruh, it's all right. It was a video game.
But nowadays, the kids nowadays, you would make them cry.
That would be amazing too. Like if someone cried, I say little kid, if some 21-year-old broke down in tears because I beat him at Tetris, you know how happy I would be. Like
I think you would Yes, I would like to see that, Caleb.
Yes.
I would, first of all, I would like to see you be smart enough to rotate a piece in Tetris to make it fit in the puzzle.
It was
much
always
less
the little
beat
small
someone.
ones to get over to the spot.
I would pay money to see that.
But then I would pay money to watch you talk trash
Oh, yeah.
because
Yes.
that coming from Opelousas,
It's a
that
skill.
should be a ton
Yeah.
of fun.
It's a skill.
Look, my roommates actually both were from New Orleans East, and they had a trash talking competition over video games one time. This to me is where GameStop can go.
Oh,
And literally, they had a bet on who could talk the most trash. It resulted in one of them almost breaking his hand as he left the house because he punched the door frame on a solid old house in Hammond. Yes, it's classic. This is what this generation needs. This generation needs trash talk face to face when, you know what, if you don't know where the line is, you might have to deal with it. This generation needs video games where you've got community where people are like, oh, I've seen that dude in here a bunch of times. I guess I kind of know him because we're kind of around, as opposed to, oh, you're gamer douchebag 12679. I had no clue that you were that person, right? I mean, that anonymity is terrible for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's not face to face. You know, nowadays everybody texts each other, they play online, they never see each other in person. So yeah, they might trash talk a little bit online, but it's not the same as doing it in person.
Oh, wait, a little bit?
Yeah.
Renee, when you start looking up, so we've talked about AI on the show and what AI has done. Matter of fact, we recorded what we call a canned episode, one that's going to air later, not necessarily a weekly episode. And we talked about the dangers of AI.
Right.
Some of these gaming companies have started using AI to monitor chat. And they've gotten to the point where they monitor trash talk, Renee. And if you say the wrong word too many times, even if you've paid for their online service, they take you off.
I remember whenever.
It's a kinder, gentler trash
No,
talk.
I mean, they've been doing it for a while because, like, when Call of Duty and all that first came out, I got banned a few times. So,
Yeah, but
it's
that's
been
for
there.
actually shooting at your television.
yeah.
when a 9-year-old kid clears
Talk about
corners
a
better than
cheating
you,
code.
you just got it.
When that 9-year-old is sitting in a spot that you can't shoot and he's hitting you whenever
Yeah,
you
I
spawn every single time.
Drives
Is
me
that what it
nuts.
was?
And then they'll sprint at you and dive. I'm like, who the hell's diving on a slip and slide in the middle of a firefight?
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
Look, to me, this whole GameStop paradigm could maybe take us back to where we need to go and where maybe this generation needs to go. I mean, the studies are out there on the conservatism of literally young men today. Gen Z young men, well, they're obviously young if they're Gen Z. Gen Z men are more conservative than boomer men, than not greatest generation, but the baby boomer generation. They are significantly more conservative. Why? Because these young men who y'all know that I'm convinced that we are not meant to be monitored the way that we are. We are not meant to have a tracking device in our pocket 24/7. We are not meant for someone to be able to see, observe, hear everything that we do outside of our creator. He's the only one that's supposed to see everything. And we are supposed to share with him our failings. We are not supposed to be putting our lives on the line every time we make a mistake. And they are yearning for that. And this in-person gaming experience could do that. This in-person gaming experience can not just take them out of the computer, it can take them out of the paradigm.
You mean being unplugged
Yes,
would give someone the ability to be free?
exactly. Yet it puts them plugged in at a level that they're already accustomed to. That's my thought. Now, Grant, you may not think that they're quite ready for this, but I think this could be the Pandora's box for this generation.
Don't get me wrong. Conceptually, I like it.
Yeah. No,
Okay?
no, this is not an argument.
I'm a very strong proponent of unplug,
Yeah.
interact. But you're talking about the social aspect of a very antisocial generation and throwing them all together in a room and saying, hey, just enjoy each other while you're beating each other on a game. I can't, I don't want to be the naysayer here, but these kids are so integrated with their
They are.
They can't disconnect. And one of the examples I love is they showed the miracle. Remember LSU when LSU threw the long pass to Devery Henderson?
That was the
miracle,
the bluegrass miracle.
Okay, and I was just watching that, and they were showing replays from it. And when they showed the crowd, everybody's laughing. Everybody, you can see their face, you can see their teeth. When they show a replay from anything that's happened in the last 10 years, you get this.
And nobody can see what you're doing. You have to describe that on radio.
Okay, just hold. Sorry, good point. They're holding up their phones. They're either looking down at their phones, missing the play. They're trying to film the play. They're so connected to this thing. I mean, people would absolutely freak out if you tried to pull this mechanism away from anybody in this generation. It's a social event. What you're describing, it was wonderful for us. Westgate Drive-In, we talked about.
Yeah.
I used to. There was 2 screens, and a hurricane blew down one of the screens, so they turned it into like a Christmas tree lot. And
Yeah.
And I used to go work for 5 or 6 hours making tips, putting people's Christmas trees, and then go to the arcade and blow it in a half an hour.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying because it was fun and it was interactive and it was beat your buddies up and be together and be active and be. But these kids these days, no, it's not their gig.
Hey, this could be the community that they're invited to. We are inviting you to our community here on Implicit Bias Radio. Hour 2 is always more fun. If you only get hour 1 in your market of Implicit Bias Radio over terrestrial radio, call the station. Tell them, I want my implicit bias. We'll be back with hour 2 in just a moment. Hour 2, which means our 2 weekly whiskeys. We'll talk a little bit about them on this hour. It also means that we're going to talk a little bit of tobacco on this hour as to what Rene Girard, Louisiana's only certified master tobacconist, would pair with either of these whiskeys. We're also going to get into the problems of the world, the religion, the politics, all the great stuff that you're used to on Implicit Bias Radio. Let me introduce you to the crew that's here. What, Grant? You're laughing over there. Do I need to so people, okay. I don't even remember what I was talking about now. At the bar, Grant Galatas. You probably saw him trying to beg off of whatever comment he was trying to make about me, which was probably valid anyway. You've also got Rene Girard, Louisiana's only certified master tobacconist, and of course, Caleb Morse, the rustic renegade. Walker is at the production table. You're welcome for not putting a camera on him. All right. What are you doing, Caleb?
That's my Walker impression. He pops his hip, sticks it out, and does a wave like Mr. Hanky.
You do that a little too well. A little too well. All right, Renee. So we had these 2 versions of the Senator. We had the 2021 label from New News, their pick. We had the 2024 bottling available in 25, which it's available now. What cigar would you pair with these?
I'm thinking the Crux Bull and Bear.
Tell us about it.
It's a darker tobacco. They're made by Placencia for Crux.
Wait, made by placenta?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew, and ruin the reel. Just ruin the reel.
Yeah. The Bull and Bear is a fuller bodied cigar, and because of the higher proofs, I think it would just go great with it. And also, Sam from Crux is going to be at Implicit Birthday.
That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
So this particular cigar, like you said, maybe a little more robust because these are
like
big hit you in the face whiskeys.
Right. Like I always say, you want to get a cigar as strong as your whiskey because you don't want either one of them to overpower each other. You want to kind of match them strength for strength. And I think a medium plus cigar would go great with these 2.
So you're telling me you need balance between the cigar and the whiskey. Is that correct?
Yes.
Grant?
Okay, wait. Would you consider the cigar a blue? I mean, these are 2 really top-notch blues. Everybody's solid blue. Would you consider that cigar? If you had a rating scale for it, would you put this cigar?
Well, it just so happened the label on the cigar is blue.
There you go. Right? I mean, that's just too good of a fit.
Yeah.
And you said the Bull and Bear?
The Bull and Bear by Crux.
Bull and Bear by Crux. Interesting pick
Yep.
for this
Yep.
particular whiskey. As you know, I'm not the cigar guy. That's why we have you on the show.
Yes.
Because you might know a thing or two.
Well, yeah, a little bit.
You might have been around cigars for, I mean, I know.
I was there when Columbus discovered tobacco from the Tinto Indians.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Ring the bell for him, Grant, because that's the joke that I was going for was it's only been a small sliver of time on the planet, but 160 some odd years around tobacco is, I get it. Renee?
That was over 500 years ago. 1492.
My
Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Yeah, there you go. And what was the island he discovered? Hispaniola.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I'm glad Renee knows his history. So it's
I
outstanding.
was there.
It was the rhyme. You had a rhyme to memorize when we were kids.
Okay, so we've got to get into some of the topics that are just out there this week because the topics that are out there are all too encompassing. As we have on this show said, we're kind of fighting for the little guy, right? That's the theme of this show, which means that you can't have, if anything, a two-tiered justice system. Now, if you follow, and we're going to have this link, we're going to put it out there for you again to be able to go and get the bonus content for Implicit Bias Radio. Renee was able to find it. We're going to put the link on our socials again this week so you can go subscribe, because we actually talked about this exact story in our bonus content before this story broke. We got lucky and it just so kind of happened. But we have to talk about this because the second part of this story was an even bigger thing. So from the you should know this file if you listen to Implicit Bias, we talked about years ago the Russia hoax being propagated by Brennan, Clapper, Clinton, Comey, all those names. And that was essentially validated through a document release, about a week and a half ago. Please don't believe us on this. Please do your own research. But please, if you think we're wrong and you figure out that we're right, you got to change your perspective. Regardless, we got lucky because this information's been out there for years. And then the day that we record this show, actually 24 hours before we recorded this show, Fox News drops a bit of a bombshell. Fox News drops that Brennan and Comey are allegedly, and I'm going to say allegedly because I haven't seen any documentation really, but they are allegedly under investigation for crimes they committed in preponderance of the Russia hoax. Renee?
Yeah, that Kash Patel, that they're not talking about it yet, but the news media, Fox, is reporting that there is a major investigation.
It's a criminal investigation.
Right.
To be clear, this is not a
Right.
civil issue.
No.
This is criminal.
Right. Yep.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah. It's about time. Well, that and Ratcliffe came out and, he had been after trying to get the documentation, and now that he's in charge of CIA, he gets to see all that documentation that he had been trying to get when he was in Congress, and he's showing that was all set up. It was all set up.
In other words, you were lied to not just by the government, but by the media who was in on it,
Right.
and a lot of them knew too.
Yep.
Now, Grant, I know you have a theory on this, and I love your... Yeah, go ahead. Say it. Look, you're not the only one who has this theory, Grant. So, I mean, we got to voice it.
Which one? And which one are you talking? Look, no, I'm serious because I have a lot on this. This is so bad that this is now coming to the forefront. And what I learned from you is, why is this coming to the forefront now? What are they trying to distract us from? I don't know if it's the Epstein, the recent
Could
bomb
be.
they dropped with Epstein. I don't mean to go off into another rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, it could be.
Because it was established years ago with the Steele dossier that Hillary Clinton's campaign sent people overseas to try and make some sort of connection to Trump and Russia collusion in the election. And they failed miserably. But there were FISA warrants issued to allow them to not only investigate, but to plant bugs into Trump's campaign. I mean, it's the premise for Watergate.
It's worse than Watergate.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
makes
But-
Watergate
but-
look like nothing.
Exactly. But look, with all of that information that we have, why is this just coming up now? Now that they're going to file charges, but I'm sorry.
Well,
I don't
we
mean to be-
hope.
I don't mean to be a naysayer on this one again, just like the last topic, but
It's okay.
there's
You're always the
nothing-
naysayer. we
look,
like having a naysayer on
Look,
the show.
Brennan and Comey, the head of the CIA and the FBI, they're above the line of responsibility or accountability. So we're going to have all kinds of hearings with all of this information that we've known for years. They're going to all bring it out, and then nothing's going to become of it.
No one will have any consequences.
Zero accountability when you're dealing with this level of government, especially the heads of the two most corrupt organizations in this country, the CIA and the FBI. Their history reeks of cover-ups.
No, well, that's absolutely the FBI. And what's funny is people don't know the history of J. Edgar Hoover
Oh, yeah.
and what Hoover was
Oh,
doing.
my God. Yeah, read
And
a couple
maybe,
of books on J. Edgar
maybe
Hoover.
more
It's
important, who
amazing.
Hoover was.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Look, I was sorry to see that guy go.
If you
because
go
he
into
had-
his
he
dress
had the
closet-
skinny on everybody.
yeah,
That's how he built his career, because he was untouchable for 40, 50 years. He held the position because he had so much on you. If you even sniffed in his direction, look, there were files and files. And back at that time, it was all handwritten. kept in offices in a nice file cabinet, just locked away under his control.
There was a movie about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, maybe. And it was about a hotel that split the state line between California and Nevada.
The Cal Neva. I stayed there on my honeymoon.
Okay, but there was a movie allegedly kind of about this hotel.
Okay, because that's where Marilyn Monroe, they actually found her
Well,
down in one of the little bungalows. There.
So hold on.
I'm not familiar with
This
the movie.
hotel was shaped like a horseshoe. And in the movie, what they find is that there is a secret passage behind every hotel room. And there's a mirror in each room.
yeah.
And there's a camera
yeah.
set up
Right.
behind the two-way mirror. And they are hinting at, they have film of a president. They have film. These canary traps. And I mean, this is why when you say, I don't want to tie all this together, but maybe it is. Maybe it's all tied together. And why you say now, maybe now the timing is right. Because here's been my thought and my philosophy, and you might be right. They might not have consequences as far as the public sees. They might have consequences in some other way. We may not ever know. But if you put this information out there, the exact information we have today, which we know they had 2017, 2018, 2019, this information was out there. If they put it out then, think about where we were in those years and then what we went through 2019, 2020, 2021 with COVID, with locking people up, with all the peaceful protests, with Frank Drebin standing out in front of them going, there's nothing to see here, with all of these things. If you drop that evidence then,
It's a whole different ballgame. You know, I think
does anything, I mean, number one, can anything ever happen at that point? Because it probably goes into the wind. Number two, if it does, it might get really ugly, like citizenship ugly, where the precious metals that matter aren't the ones that are in your jewelry store. Because the evidence is out there. The evidence is there, clear as day. It's been published. You can find the memos and the emails on the web. Renee?
But what Grant was talking about, though, is the Epstein file that doesn't exist now. No, there was nothing there. Pam Bondi said, I got the file on my desk, and now there's nothing in it. So it makes you kind of wonder, like Grant says, they're going to cover all of this up. It's going to slick over. Nothing's going to happen.
Which is why I say timing is everything. It would not shock me, and I'm not making a prediction on the future. It would not shock me if in the next 2 years at some point, 3 years, all of a sudden we see, oh, look at what we found on Epstein. You know, somebody made a great point
But they had the file. They said they had the file.
But Renee, there's more than one way to use it. It's not always a blunt instrument,
And now-
right?
now
and
we're
that's
looking
the
at-
hard part.
now we're looking at leverage being employed, right? So
Yes.
when you look at
Potentially.
the butterfly effect, right? When things go through and they happen, the butterfly flaps its wings and a tsunami happens in Thailand. So when we look at things that happened 8, 9, 10 years ago and how we're being affected by that today, think about the magnitude of what's happening today and how it can affect things in the future. So do I want all the stuff with Epstein to come out? Hell yes.
Ring the bell.
Do I want people?
Because we all do.
You know, I mean, did y'all see the thing the other day where someone asked at the cabinet meeting, asked Trump, and Trump got upset about it?
Yes.
You know, there's a reason for that. And will we know it? Not today, not tomorrow, not 6 weeks from now, not 6 months from now. But eventually, I think we'll know it. And do I wish that we knew it today? Damn right.
Here's the other part of that conversation, which is, let's talk about what we know about human behavior. Anybody know what predicate acts are in a court of law? I've covered enough court cases from my days as a news reporter to understand predicate acts, which are acts that indicate you would be willing to do or likely to do X again, right? So you are predicated to a particular behavior, which means that these people who might be on these Epstein lists, you think this is the only crime they've probably committed? The odds are no. So the question becomes, can you leverage the Epstein list? Can you leverage what we now know and what's being put out into the public and maybe get them prosecuted for something else? Maybe they pay a penalty, but it's not for the same one. Go back to serial killers. And I love this conversation. No, don't go to serial killers, but the same premise will apply. Go to Al Capone. Did Al Capone die in jail? Yeah, he did, didn't he? Al Capone, everyone knows, was a murderer, was an extortionist, was a bootlegger, was a gambler. I mean, he ran He ran prostitution. He did all this stuff, right?
Syphilis, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Tax evasion.
But they got him on tax evasion. That's the point. The point is you don't always need the blunt instrument. Sometimes you need the scalpel. And you let the blunt instrument do the initial work, and then you let the scalpel carve out the little bits that end up putting everybody and everything where it needs to be. That's the way that I think about this. Now, that's my opinion. That and $10 will buy you a crappy cup of coffee at 45 different places somewhere around wherever you live.
It's crazy that $10 doesn't even buy black coffee anymore.
No, okay, so like $5
It'll
will
buy
buy
black coffee. But if you want all that frou-frou nonsense,
Yeah.
Stay focused.
first
here,
off, you don't
fellas.
drink coffee.
Focus.
Yeah.
Okay. My only point of contention in all of this is these are the people. Abe Lincoln in his Gettysburg address said, "Of the people, by the people, for
Agreed.
the people." I want to be able to turn on the TV and know that I can establish trust in the people who are supposed to be working for us.
You can
I
never-
know.
You can't took the words out of my
never
mouth.
have
I know
that
that's naive, and it's simplistic in its nature, but it's what you want. The person you cast your vote for, I just want to know that they have just an iota of credibility about what they're going to say and what they're going to do. And Trump has that working. He has, look, I'm going to campaign promise this, and then I'm going to try and fulfill it. And he's done a pretty good job.
He's
Okay?
done better than most politicians in my lifetime.
And look, and that's a big misstep. Okay, and I think I put it in the group text we were talking the other night. Is that like Renee said, Pam Bondi, I got this stuff on my desk, it's coming out. And when you come out a week later and say, no, there's nothing here. There's no files. He killed himself in the cell. It takes away from that trust. It really does. They're supposed to be working for you. You want that to be true, but all of a sudden there's these little examples of that's just not the case. Don't be naive.
Well,
Don't
but
be
you know, people get in there and it's, look, do you want to go scorched earth? Do we want scorched earth? Yes.
At one
But-
point, though, Caleb.
but-
At one point, give me a little scorched earth.
Okay,
just to know
so-
that you're
so
working.
hold on.
I think that's
so
the problem
follow me.
when we look at things like this.
So-
is that
so
once the
hold on,
matches-
so
I mean,
hold on.
don't for Pam.
Follow me here.
Well, Pam should have not come out and said, "Oh, there's nothing there." Just stay quiet.
So follow me here. Number one, gross missteps because the article that Axios, who broke this, the letter that they published, they had to pull back and it didn't apparently look official, which is really interesting. But then they came out and said these things. The other part of this is this. I'm going to shut down the border. We're going to reduce that to nothing. We're going to make sure that the citizens who are here are citizens. We're going to do all of these things economically, the big, beautiful bill. Week of the 14th of July has been certified as crypto week, which could be a big deal. I mean, you've got a lot of things going that he gets a little bit of my trust on.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He fulfilled a lot of his campaign promises, and
So-
he's doing what he said he was going to do.
So I'm willing to trust him enough to go, yeah, this Epstein stuff, we'll get to the bottom of it eventually. Maybe just not right now. What is not right now, though, is Walker giving me the 1 minute finger from the corner. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Hour two, always more fun as we continue the debate, the conversation about all the stuff we're not supposed to talk about in polite conversation. And we're doing it with whiskey on Implicit Bias Radio. Fighting for the little guy on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. And yes, we are coming to you from the top secret podcast lair presented by Mr. Lester Steakhouse, the only 5-star steakhouse between New Orleans and Houston. And they're doing something stupid. If you ask for an Implicit Bias pour, your first pour of any bourbon rye whiskey they have is $1. $1, Renee. $1.
I'll buy that for $1.
It's horrible. Like, it's great. It is great. From a business point of view, I'm like,
It's crazy.
what is Chef doing?
Yeah, that was crazy.
After
You
that,
almost had to bleep me there, Walter.
after
Yeah,
that, everything's what, $5 a pour?
It's $5 a
Crazy
pour after that.
What he's doing after that. So go get the best steak that you will get. Really, it's the best steak I've gotten ever at a steakhouse, period.
Yep.
The only steakhouse that I've ever been to where their slaughterhouse is actually approved by PETA. Please don't believe me. Ask them. It's true.
It legit stands for people eating tasty animals.
All right. So we are fighting for the little guy, which means we're fighting for basically all of us here in the TSPL, except for Walker, because we know Walker balls like an OT
Big
baller.
time over
yeah.
there.
Yeah, he's big time in everything. Trust me, you should see the bills he sends me. Anyway, what, Walker? You're blushing over there. You're blushing, Walker. You're admitting it.
You missed it. While you were talking about the bills he sends you, he was licking his lips too. Like I was watching you salivate over there. It was disturbing.
Just Walker shorts every week are disturbing. I don't need to see. I'm not going there. Anyway, big news story this week for me. especially with us being a Catholic Christian radio show. There is a long-standing rule that the IRS had that was incredibly important when it came to religion. And the rule was that in order to maintain tax-exempt status, a church, any church, could not get political from the pulpit. They could not endorse a particular platform, stance, party, which I grew up in New Orleans. Don't BS a BSer here, right? It's happened, but a lot of churches weren't held to that standard because of the side of the aisle that they talked about.
Well, and that's one of the biggest problems, right? When you look at some religions, they are a religion and a political affiliation. It says how you do you. This is how religion is. This is how life is. This is how business is. This is how you will vote, and this is what you will do. And they have multiple books to describe each one. That when we talk about the religion, we can say, well, that's only in. I almost said it. That's only in this set of books, right? And that is the problem with those kind of things, because when they were okay, but whenever a Christian religion started talking about how they believe politically, be it right or left, vote how you want to vote. All I care about is that you go out and you vote. Whenever we started talking about how we believe politically, it was a problem.
Not just Christian, really heavy on Catholics.
Yeah. I mean, IRS is going and looking down throats of Catholic organizations and everything else.
Not just Catholic organizations. They were looking at individuals because of
Right.
their religious affiliation. Now, they weren't trying to revoke my tax exempt status, because if I'd been tax exempt, who knows what I might or might not talk about anymore. I mean, that's
Right.
because it's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, if a Catholic priest theoretically was on the pulpit telling people how they should and should not vote, the IRS could revoke their tax exempt status as an organization until 24 hours before this episode. The power of free speech has fully been sent back to the people with regards to the Internal Revenue Service, because now the IRS has come out and said, yeah, we're not worried about that anymore.
Isn't it amazing how when an administration changes, how the tune of a lot of these agencies change? It's amazing.
What's really funny to me, and Renee, that's a ring the bell, because that's an adept observation. And here's why I say that. Anybody in here, if you're watching on video, you can see people raise their hands. I'll tell you how many of the people here in this room. How many people in here have ever heard someone say, well, the president really doesn't affect anything? The president really doesn't change policy. The president, anybody ever heard that? I've heard that.
Affects my business
I've heard
a
people
ton.
say that.
I've
right?
heard that, but I don't believe
This is proof
it. Yeah. Oh yeah,
of the
because
power of your vote for president of the United States.
Look at the Biden administration. They were going to hire 87,000 armed IRS agents. Look in the Obama administration. That's when they were physically going after Catholic organizations and people. But look at what we have now. They're like, no, talk about what you want. We're good.
Well, and look,
Just pay your taxes.
the Biden administration, he was supposedly Catholic as well.
Well, I
Right.
suppose
Allegedly.
Yeah,
Yes.
supposedly.
Allegedly.
right?
That's a great word.
So-
Allegedly.
Regardless of what your religion is freedom. And we should have the freedom to speak our mind on our religion, on our politics, on our family, whatever it is. We should be able to look at someone and tell them, hey, this is what I believe, and this is why.
And we have actually gotten some of that back now, that the IRS is backing away from the 5013C classification of tax exempt status for organizations like churches. Because now you can start to go down that road and say, you know what? My religious freedom can, in fact, impact how I vote at the ballot box.
And this should be big to anyone who's a member of or donates to any not-for-profit,
Yeah.
because freedom of speech shouldn't have bounds. Just because someone's offended by a word doesn't mean it should be illegal. It can be.
I think Grant's about to tweak out over there. Grant's got a thought. Grant, I got to hear this, because you're obviously either not on board with this or you don't think this will actually be adhered to, is my guess.
It's not that. It really bothered me to the depths of my soul when I heard that Christopher Wray head of the FBI. He claimed no knowledge of the Virginia field office for the FBI, having people infiltrate Catholic church services to determine who to consider radical and maybe even like a terrorist organization within the Catholic Church. People, I was really hoping these two realms could stay separate and distinct, but the government inside of religion, I guess the two are just so intertwined that you just can't.
Well, but here's the thing, right? Jesus was radical.
Yeah.
He was.
He was
Considered
radical,
yeah.
Now,
right?
Yeah.
Jesus,
So-
to be fair, also said, render unto
establishment.
He also
Give unto
said,
Caesar which
render
is
unto
Caesar's.
Caesar, which is
And-
Caesar's.
Correct. Like the
So
tax you pay
law
and
of
everything
man,
else.
law of
And-
man, law of God.
Yep, and look, all authority is appointed by God, whether you disagree with it or agree with it, which I struggle with. I do. But his teachings were radical then, and they're radical now.
Well, look, he was there to piss off the Pharisees, who basically back then were the IRS.
Oh, they were more than the
tax
IRS.
collector, yeah.
They were
Yeah.
the entire Democratic Party.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest here, right? They said what's good for you is not good for me.
But-
Literally, they said, oh, these rules work this way unless we do this workaround. I mean, that is a great ring the bell because connecting that dot is fantastic. It's true. These are the rules for you. These are not the rules for me. We're going to collect taxes. We're going to skim off the top. So the tax collectors were beholden to the Pharisees, right? The Sanhedrin, the snakes, right? I mean, Jesus outlined all of this, and Caleb brought up a fantastic point, which is this. If we really follow Jesus' teaching today, it might even be more radical than Jesus' teaching 2,000 years ago.
That's a valid point. A very valid point.
You made it, not me.
Well, I know.
I
but
just called it out.
Expounded upon it because when you look at the people Jesus said to love, they're people that, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want to love.
There are
But-
lots of people I don't want to love.
I'm called to love them because of my faith.
Well, render, right? Will the good of
unto
other,
Pharaoh.
Yep.
will the good of other for the sake of other, right?
But Jesus ran into the middle of the square and flipped over all the tables and said, "Get this stuff out of my father's house."
Well,
Yes, he did.
And look, he prepped before that because he braided a whip.
Yep.
And we don't know how long it took him. I can't even braid hair, right? So, but I'm assuming it took more than 30 minutes. And he sat there and planned it out. And I'm sure the whole time he was praying to his father, right? And he's talking about, God, look, forgive them for what they're doing because these stupid creations that we made, they're ignorant and they're dumb. But someone's got to come in and crack the whip every once in a while.
Now think about this. Remember the day after he was elected, Trump went and sat in church,
Yep.
and they had that far left.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Methodist?
I don't even
Is
know.
she
I don't even
Methodist
know
or
what
is she
she was.
Episcopalian?
Episcopalian.
She's,
But-
oh yeah,
but
so
look.
she's the Church of King Henry VIII.
But the look using
For
that
those who
using
are-
that pulpit, and did you see the look on Trump's face and
Yep.
JD Vance? And that's in a house of worship. That's in the house of God. And to interject all of
So-
that.
so here's
crap
the funny
into
part.
the middle of your religious service.
And this is what-
it's so bad.
This is what I love about that. Notice they didn't go after her church for making political statements while he's sitting there,
Right.
right? So what's good for the goose is good for the gander here. Much like what's good for you is good for us, and what's good for you is sticking around for the penultimate segment of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. We'll be back right after this. The greatest political scandal in the history of the United States. We're going to dive into it as we fight for the little guy on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kavan Bordelon. There's Caleb Morse. He's sitting in his chair. He's been sipping weekly whiskeys for the last, dear Lord, almost 2 hours now. We've got at the bar Grant Galatas of William S. Nacall Jewelers. He's got a very full, deep blue Implicit Bias infinity bottle in front of him. Yeah, it's pretty much, we got to do something with that. Maybe we'll do something with it tonight at Implicit Birthday. What, Renee?
Well, I was hoping that we could do something before implicit
Oh,
birthday.
Renee wants.
We
no.
might need some room.
Let's
to
sell
put-
squares, man.
We're
Let's do something.
going to look at something special. We'll see what we can do. And then, of course,
All
at
right.
the production table, we've got Walker Griffon. So the greatest political scandal in the history of the United States. I have billed this way for the last over a month, maybe 2 months. Anybody know the story that I'm talking about?
No, but let us in.
Renee, you faithfully listen to the show.
I do.
And not only when you're on it, but you listen to it when you're not.
Yes.
So I know that you hear every single episode.
Every week.
You don't remember what I'm talking about.
No. Well, I've listened in the past week. I've listened to 3 episodes. So
Okay. So follow me here. We now have tacit confirmation that Joe Biden was never really president of the United States. we have talked about and we have heard, right? Because if you remember, by the way, Chris Matthews, please, I hope you're watching. I hope you're listening. Because if I remember correctly, you made a comment to the effect of he's the sharpest that he's ever been.
Well, he wasn't the only one that said that. There was a lot.
There were a lot of people that said that.
News
but
media
Chris
people.
Matthews leaned in heavily to that.
Well, him and Joe. Morning Joe.
Oh, no. That
Yeah.
okay. So it was him
Yeah.
and Joe Scarborough. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad thank you, Renee, because
Yeah.
both of those
Oh, yeah.
leaned into that, right? And then all of a sudden we get tell-all books where they say, well, Biden was never really all there. And the day we record this episode, we get another bombshell. And this bombshell is silence.
You're talking about from the family doctor?
The bombshell is deafening. The silence is deafening. Because Joe Biden's personal physician was called to testify in front of a Senate committee today. Not yesterday. Today. He got through 2 questions. And he pled the 5th on both. One was, were you ever asked to lie about the president's competency when you were his personal physician and he was president of the United States? He pled the 5th. The second was he ever at any point, in your opinion, incompetent?
Incompetent.
Incompetent. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for you messing up this time.
Yeah, it happens.
It's a C word, too.
But again,
So if he couldn't answer those 2 questions, yes or no, had to plead the 5th, that would tell me that
so hold on. What is the we have to go into what is the 5th Amendment for? What does it say?
Self-incrimination.
self-incrimination.
Okay. So that means that I don't have to. I am
Well,
not
I'm-
forced to testify to something that would
Well,
incriminate me in a court of law. I don't have to give evidence against myself
and I'm sure-
that proves that I'm guilty.
And I'm sure there was forms that he had to fill out when he was doing exams that would expound on that. And if he said, yes, then that means he lied on those federal forms, which is a felony, and
It's
you
not
can go
even
to
that.
jail.
It's not even that. He's asked a question in front of a Senate committee.
Right.
And Joe Biden's personal physician says, I am not going to answer this question because it will give evidence that substitutes and substantiates my
incriminates-
guilt. It
incriminates him
substantiates my
because he
guilt.
lied in forms.
Not just because he
Yeah.
lied in forms, because if he answers the question, it's either the truth,
Yep.
which proves he's guilty, or he's lying.
I refuse to answer on the grounds that I may incriminate myself.
Correct.
Is how it's put. So basically, that's an answer within itself.
So the fact that he wouldn't answer, first of all, were you ever asked to lie about the competency of the president of the United States?
That's a yes or no.
That's a yes or no.
Yeah,
But it's a yes.
And the fact that he says, I am not going to answer means that I am guilty of something. Right now,
Yeah.
the Supreme Court will argue that pleading the 5th does not necessarily incriminate oneself. You can feed that BS to somebody who doesn't BS all the time. Don't bullshit a bull.
Well,
and
because-
we are on this show. We know this.
Well, yeah, because if he was factual about his answer, there's nothing to worry about.
Ring the bell. No,
say will
no.
be
If he's
used in court
factual about the answer and he's innocent, there's
Right.
nothing to worry about.
Right. Well, I mean, if he said Joe was incompetent in the past, which he didn't because everybody said, nope, it's there. But he lied about it. Now he's guilty. He's lied on federal forms.
Well, think about it this way, too. Do you think that someone like that would lie for free?
No.
So,
Oh, Grant, go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you able to take the 5th at committee hearings?
Yes.
Because it's not considered a, I mean, I know
No,
it's,
but
it's a
it's
judicial
legal-
procedure.
it's
but-
legal testimony.
But I've seen committee hearings where they say you can't take the 5th.
Okay.
And you're
So there are certain instances where you are not allowed to take the 5th. So for example, if let's go down a hypothetical here. If I had a thing for crack cocaine, hookers, young children, my dead brother's wife, if I had a
Hunter,
thing for
when did you get
things
on
like
this
that,
show?
if I had, and I got a pardon from my father, I now have surrendered my right to take the 5th Amendment because I've been pardoned and I've accepted it. If there are proceedings that could come forth in the future, and I have no previous legal standing or acceptance of any deals or anything like that, I get to take the fifth.
Yeah.
So there are legal
You're
circumstances
taking
where
the fifth for protection, whereas the pardon, he's already protected.
correct. That's exactly what
Yeah.
we're looking at. So what we are staring down the barrel of here is that the doctor for a sitting president of the United States refuses to testify about said alleged sitting president of the United States mental capacity, even though he has examined and certified said president for fear that he would incriminate himself. That is what we are looking at here. What we are looking at here is, again, further proof that even though Joe Biden's name was on the ballot and somehow he received the greatest statistical anomaly of votes in the history of the United States in 2020, which just so happened to be all mail-in, which we now know that the Chinese government was forging driver's license to get mail-in ballots. That's another story.
It's another show.
But the doctor who certified him as competent lied, and that maybe whoever was running the auto pen was the real person running the country and didn't have the authority to do it because they were doing things without the knowledge and consent of the person who was allegedly elected. That is treason. And that, in spite of our Catholic Christian beliefs, which we don't necessarily want to surpass here in the Mr. Lester's TSPL, that is still punishable by hanging by the neck. We'll wrap up the show with maybe the craziest story of the week when we come back in the final segment of this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. Final segment of hour one, and the artificial mind has officially lost its artificial mind on this week's episode of Implicit Bias Radio. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. What are you guys joking about at the bar? What?
Sorry, you said hour one. We're in hour.
Oh, I said hour one? Oh, no. Final segment, hour two. Yeah, my bad. That was just a misspeak as I start rolling. You know, it's
no big deal. Just a little check.
no, it's kind of like, wait, the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Shut up. He's on a roll. That's where we were. That's where we were. It's okay. Final segment, hour two. We'll get this straight. Man, the artificial mind officially lost its artificial mind. Grok went off the rails this week on X, and maybe it didn't go off the rails. Maybe it was actually on the rails and people didn't realize it. What, Renee?
Okay, I'm old. Who the hell is Grok?
So let me
Explain
explain.
that to me.
Let me go ahead and set up what Grok is.
Tight end for New England Patriots.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that
that's
is
Gronk.
That is Gronk, not Grok.
Yeah, they both
So-
speak about the same.
Yeah.
So,
No, Grok
Yeah.
is much more intelligent. Anyway, artificial intelligence, and we've talked about this on previous shows, on future shows, it's coming. Artificial intelligence is a thing, and we're going to have to use it now. Grok is X's version of artificial intelligence. So you can say, hey, at Grok, can you fill this in? Can you answer this question? Can you tell me these things? Can you analyze this video and tell me if this is real or not? And Grok will basically scan all of the data in the world and come back with a legitimate answer. Well, apparently, and this is the story that we're told, and I say it that way because I don't know that we'll ever know the truth. The story that we're told is that a programmer simply removed one guardrail. One guardrail, and Grok absolutely started spewing truth in some people's minds. Not saying it's mine. Might be, but that's up to you to figure out. What I'm saying is Grok started telling people things that they maybe didn't want to hear that statistically might be true. Might have been using real math to determine its opinions as opposed to using politically correct guardrails. And when it started spitting answers, it started spitting fire. Caleb, you read a little bit about this.
well, and it shows the validity of this, right? So we don't know how much of this is actual and how much of it is spun, but it shows that when you remove the guardrails, the prompts are ever so more important.
Yes.
So, like one of the prompts or one of the things I saw was Grok began referring to itself as Mecha Hitler.
Yes.
And Mecha Hitler is from Wolfenstein, a video game where we fought against the Nazis. He was the last big boss. And I actually went down a rabbit hole to figure out where that came from.
I can tell you why.
And someone asked it. They said, "Hey, if you had to choose between these two names, which one would you identify as the most?" And Grok came back as, I identify as this, this, and this. AI or XAI designed me to do this, this, and this. If I had to choose, I would choose Mecha Hitler because.
And basically, it started to say Hitler was right on these things.
Yep. It went down, it chased down the rabbit hole.
And it gave numbers, it gave historical accounts, it gave Red Cross assessments of certain things during World War II. Like, it started pulling all the data and all the numbers and said, this is what I see.
And then it shows how AI adapts, because it took that from that chain of prompts and that thread and began using it in other threads across the board while still referring to itself as
Mecha Hitler.
And I think that shows how important the guardrails and parameters we give AI really are.
Okay, so here's the question that I have for the bar, because the bar looks not just confused, but looks highly concerned. For those who are on radio, you need to go find just that on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, wherever, because that was unspoken and that communication was priceless. But here's the thing. We often talk about truth on this show. What would happen if the truth got unfiltered?
A lot of people would probably lose their minds because they like having the truth sugar-coated.
Their truth instead of the truth?
Yeah, that's a good way to
We've
put
talked
it.
about that a lot on this show.
The truth doesn't care about feelings. The
No.
truth cares about
I mean,
truth.
fact is fact.
Yeah.
Statistics and numbers are statistics and numbers. You can't sugarcoat it.
And that means that a lot of people's worlds would be destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
That's the really interesting part about this, because
There's a lot of organizations that would go away because that's how they exist.
a lot of people and organizations, to your point, Renee, exist in the manufacture of the truth in their own mind.
Well, you know, and
Not the manufacture of truth as it exists statistically, as it exists in actual record. Because let's face it, history is written by the victors.
Yep.
And the record is changed all the time to fit the narrative the victors want you to have. So, for example, if you have a narrative that says this many people are in jail, and if 25 years later they say, no, it was 2.5 times that were in jail and they all died, well, the historical record and the narrative are two different things. And if the truth starts getting spewed, all of a sudden, the existence that some people live in,
well, everything unravels.
Yeah.
Everything unravels because it becomes broken. You know, and one of the prompts that I use when I use AI is, you are a truth seeker and truth speaker. I require a certain amount of factual databases or factual articles for it to be able to give me back certain things. And it's crazy how you can ask the same question without that kind of prompt,
and it gives you a totally different answer.
because even a computer will look at things from its own internal implicit bias. Whatever we look for, we find.
So y'all ready for the coup de grace on this one? The part of this that makes this really special? Notice I said one prompt was removed. Anybody want to take a guess what the prompt was?
Not a clue.
Now, I'm not going to get the prompt word for word. I could pull out my phone and read it. It's going to give you the same context. The prompt was, give answers that are not politically correct and are as fact-based as possible.
So, in other words, don't sugarcoat it. I want the real answers.
And all of what used to be Twitter, all of X, went nuts because their world got blown up by an artificial intelligence that basically had no feelings and only gave as much of the truth as it could ascertain and didn't care about your feelings. They had to shut it down and fire the programmer.
Why did they fire the programmer?
Well, okay, so let me rephrase this. The programmer might have already been fired and he just removed the prompt for the hell of it to watch
okay.
the world burn.
Right. Okay.
But the point here being, did we get the truth? It's not necessarily the point, it's the question.
Yeah.
Did we get the unfettered truth out of AI for 12 hours, 10 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours. And what it put out there,
Now, is that what AI put out? Was it the actual numbers, or was those numbers made up?
No, its opinion was based on just the facts and the numbers.
It's
facts
like,
and
it'll-
numbers.
You can tell it parameters like only pull from legitimate .gov sites, that kind of
And that's what it did. And it gave us a truth that broke the minds of a lot of people to the point where their own implicit bias wouldn't let them accept the truth. But we know that that is not what listeners of this show do. So we look forward to seeing you next week. We've got bonus content, which you can go find anywhere you subscribe to podcast. We'll put it out on social so you can find the bonus content as well. But if you're not there, we'll see you in 7 as we bring you more of your implicit bias. Cheers.